Alright, what's going on, yo? Welcome back to another episode of the Underestimated Podcast. Joe's Jeremy, we're back with another episode. So, in today's episode, I kind of want to just talk about how USCB women's team defeated USC Aiken 59 to 83. I had already previously started recording, but apparently whatever I was recording did not save, unfortunately, so now I have to re-record it and just try my best to kind of just hit every point that I did. This was a very dominating win for USCB. It's probably the most dominating win that they've had this season, as opposed to a game that they played in, I think, either November or December against Berry College, which was also a 24-point win victory. So this game actually tied their largest margin of victory. So this past Saturday, the USCB women's basketball team secured a commanding 83-59 victory over USC Aiken. And while it was a strong team effort overall, this game was particularly huge for Izellah Kendrick, aka Z, Big Z. I'm super proud of how she played in that game. I went into this game thinking, obviously Z scoring 16 points was not really on anyone's bingo card, mine specifically. But from the opening tip, she set the tone, showcasing her ability to control the pace, attack the basket, and create some opportunities for herself and her teammates. She finished with 16 points, but numbers only tell part of the story of this game. Her impact went far beyond scoring. Her court awareness and her defensive intensity and ability to make smart plays under pressure made her the central figure in a game that solidified the Sand Sharks' third straight win and built even more momentum in Peach Belt Conference play. Kendrick's performance kind of was just a perfect example of how a single player's leadership can elevate an entire team. And I think that's kind of what this team is kind of constructed of. You kind of never really know who's going to be the hot hand going into a game. And I think this game in particular kind of just showcased that, because this team is built to not really have a 1-2 punch or a surefire stud that is going to always or more than likely lead the way. It's just spread out of absolute talent from top to bottom, and anyone can be the high hand, and anyone on that team is willing to let anyone else be on the higher end of a particular game. So you're looking at a game where while teammates like senior captain Lydia Gattosi, Tanaya Bowman, and Janiyah Hayward were all contributors to key points and defensive plays, Z's presence was basically the catalyst. She constantly moved without the ball, created space in the offense, and pressured the defense to make mistakes. USC Aiken clearly struggled to contain her, and every time Z sort of drove toward the basket or hit a mid-range jumper, it seemed to swing the energy of the game even further in the favor of USCB. Her ability to remain consistent and aggressive even when the Sand Sharks were comfortably ahead showed maturity and poise beyond her years. And you gotta remember, this is a freshman we're talking about. From a defensive perspective, Kendrick also played a critical role. She helped force turnovers, contest shots, and disrupt passing lanes, which fed into the team's overall strong defensive showing. USCB held Aiken to just 35% shooting and created 16 turnovers. Kendrick's energy on both ends of the floor lifted her teammates, giving the Sand Sharks the confidence to attack in transition, share the ball effectively, and keep their defensive intensity high throughout the entire game. Watching her command both offense and defense made it clear that this was more than just a great statistical night. It was a statement performance. In the first quarter, Z just came out firing, immediately asserting herself on both ends of the floor. Her scoring helped establish a lead early, and her awareness in transition allowed teammates to find easy baskets as the team basically moved into the second quarter. So by halftime, it was evident that Z had set a rhythm for the team with her poise and decision making that dictated the flow and helped the Sand Sharks basically build a comfortable advantage. So her kind of just being able to set the stage in the first half for what became a dominant second half, as USCB continued to just gradually pull away as the game continued, kind of just built confidence in Z's ability to carry the offense when needed. Z's performance was crucial in maintaining the team's momentum in the second half, while other players contributed points and rebounds and other facets of the game. Z remained the vocal point. Well, not necessarily the focal point, because obviously you can't forget what Lydia did, having 21 points as she led the team in scoring. But Z was just constantly attacking the basket and making smart passes to teammates and cutting to open spots. The balance she provided allowed other players to thrive, because if you think about it, when you have to key in on one person, that opens the game up for others. And that with a team like this, the Sand Sharks offense became more fluid as a result of all of that. So her ability to draw defensive attention created opportunities for Lydia Gattosi, Tanaya Bowman, and Janiyah Hayward to capitalize, and they did exactly that. And the team's overall scoring distribution reflected that synergy. It was really a masterclass in how one player's dominance can make everyone around them better. I think what makes this game stand out for Z in her career so far as a freshman at USCB is not just the statistics, but the context and pressure. Playing in a conference matchup, where every win counts, she stepped up as, one of the team's leading scorers, and just, through key stretches of that game, momentum just automatically shifted. And even when USC Aiken attempted to mount a run, Z's composure, scoring, and defensive hustle shifted and kind of stifled their efforts and allowed the Sand Sharks to maintain control. By the end of the game, she had firmly established herself as a player capable of being a central figure in clutch moments and someone the team can sort of rely on in high pressure situations moving forward. Overall, this game was more than just another win for USCB. It was a defining moment for Z. Her combination of scoring, defensive impact showcased her as a true cornerstone for this team, and elevating her teammates as a solidifying, dominant team. The Sand Sharks' identity the Sand Sharks are building an identity as a balanced, aggressive, and confident squad. Absolutely. For fans watching, it was a clear statement. When Z's on her game, USCB is just a different animal. And I can say the same thing about Sammy. Sammy, when she's on, this team is just a different animal. And so if you get players like Z and Tanaya and Janiyah and Lydia and Sammy to sort of just continue to progress and develop, any of them on any given night can be the difference maker in, that's going to ultimately lead to a difference maker being made in the conference standings. And this performance will likely be remembered as a pivotal point in Z's individual career. And so I think this game is huge because, of course, you're playing your crosstown rival, and it's just a different vibe when Aiken comes to town or when we have to head to Aiken. And so, talking to them earlier in the week, they realized how big of a game this was, and they were excited, and they were very, very confident that they can establish some sort of dominance in this particular game, and did exactly that. You can almost say that they kind of knew that this was going to be sort of the outcome of the game. And so, with me saying that, it's only going to get more intense for them. I mean, they have to play Augusta this Wednesday, which is going to be a big test. And, I believe I overheard some things saying that, they feel like, when you talk about this conference, the Peach Belt Conference, every game is sort of a must win. And, they have that mindset again going against Augusta this Wednesday. We have to go in and beat Augusta. And there's a lot of things that came from this game. Just so proud of Z in the way that she played. There was a point in time in this game where, you can make the case that she was going to be the leading scorer of the game, and she was the second leading scorer of the game. Obviously, it's not a surprise that, of course, your senior captain leads the way in a pivotal crosstown rival conference matchup. But for Z as a freshman to be able to hang from a points perspective with your senior captain is actually huge. It's very, very significant. And this team is something that I often deem as a ongoing puzzle piece. They're just constantly putting it together. And, Iowa State, great. Audie Crooks was saying, you don't want to play your best basketball in January or February. You want to play it in March. And so this USCB women's team is on the trajectory of doing exactly that. And yeah, just an overall great win. This is, not the way that I kind of wanted to word this now, but I don't really, obviously I can't repeat everything that I just said, 30 minutes ago in a 30-minute segment. But I feel like I kind of touched on some of the things. Yeah, so tonight continues to be tonight. Lydia continues to be Lydia. Big game for Maddie Silva. I think Maddie had 10 points in this game. And so I've been advocating for her to take more shots this entire season. And of course, as a forward, you're not necessarily looked at to take a vast majority of the shots. But I think when she's aggressive on the offensive side of the ball, looking for her shot, it makes this team, it just gives them another element and can take them to another level. So yeah, it is an overall huge win. This is obviously, I would say, the most dominating win that they've had this year and the best defensive game that they've had this year. Because, yeah, they've had 2 24-point victories, but yeah, that game against Berry College was also dominating, but I don't think it was as dominating as this one. Nor do I believe it was as significant as this game was. So this is not really the way I want to do this. I kind of just doing this on the fly just to get something out. But I think all things considered, this was okay. It'll be better. That's the point of this, being a series. As the episodes prolong and continue, it'll get better by episode. So this is just episode 1. USCB women defeating USC Aiken, moving to 11-7 overall and 8-3 in the conference, which is absolutely amazing. And they're only going to get better. And this team believes that they can win a Peach Belt tournament championship and a national championship. And I am so glad that they believe that, and I am one who was right there with them with that. I believe that they can do it, and if they can continue to get better, especially with a huge pivotal win like this, that can absolutely build some confidence. It's a great game to build on. So yeah, this is a series that stems from my Salkahatchee Saturdays series that I did at my old school USC Salk, and it's going to be great, I believe. Obviously the interviews are going to incorporate. I kind of jumped into this a little ill-prepared. And when you look at that, the first episode that we have is already experiencing some technical issues and so. But nonetheless, just trying to move through it. I put this on myself, so I gotta battle through it and hurdle through it, or hurdle over it. And so it's fine. But yeah, that was a lot. I feel like I was talking kind of fast, which is something I normally do. That's just how I am. That's me. And as you'll see in the title, this says, the USC women outpaced the Pacers. And they were able to play at their pace the entire game. The entire 40 minutes, they played a fast pace. And, Coach V kept emphasizing to them, I don't want to slow the game down. And, obviously they listened and were still able to perform at a proficient level while continuing to play at a fast pace. So, yeah, look forward to getting those player interviews and those coaching interviews like how you saw with the Talk Saturdays series, but just actually more so seeing them because I'm here, I'm a student, and I'm on campus. So, should be no reason why I can't get those recorded and implemented into the series. So, yeah, hopefully I have all my ducks in a row so we can just continue to make this series great because I want this to be even better than the Talk Saturdays series. And just do everything that I can to put my vision into fruition. Hey, we're talking about a game where I thought Izellah Kendrick was about to give us a legacy game, so to speak, but it actually ended up being a legacy game for Z. I thought it was her career high, but it actually was her second highest scoring game. She actually scored 18 against Georgia Southwestern last week. And I thought she was on pace to absolutely get 20. I thought she was going to get 20 for sure in this game, but she ended up falling short 4 points. But yeah, she would have absolutely have been the player that I would have interviewed for this game. Because I would love for y'all to, kind of dive into her personality because she's a goofy, fun ball and, goofball, just such a character, but she balances her, athletic life and personal life very well. I think, she can laugh and giggle with you, willingly, but when it's time for her to lock in, she locks in. And so, this team is just putting it all together. They got everything that it takes and that it needs to win at a very high level. From coaching all the way down to, roster talent. They got all the bells and whistles. And I believe we have the best home crowd, and not just all the Peach Belt, but the entire country. And so that is obviously something that is a huge part, because if that tournament has to run through USCB, and now the girls are tied, I believe, for the second spot in the Peach Belt tournament, the Peach Belt Conference standings, this is going to be interesting. This team is super exciting, and when they kind of rally behind one another, and that team as a whole just uproars, it is just a beautiful thing to see. And Izellah Kendrick, she 6-foot freshman. I think she's a 6-foot junior forward from Australia. She was giving us problems early. I think there was a point where she jumped out to the first 10 points for Aiken by herself, and the game was 14-10. So she was basically competing with us by herself at a certain point. But, we got out to, I believe, a 37-26 or something. It was a 10-point lead. And once we kind of got that, once we got out to a double-digit lead, we kind of just took off from there. So, yeah, super proud of my girls. Excited to see what they do Wednesday against Augusta, because, like I said, they feel like it's a must-win, and they got to go get that game as well. So, I think their biggest hurdle is going to be Columbus State. Because they look legit. I saw them. Obviously, I've seen every single game that both teams have played, and they look legit. They look like they're going to be tough, and I could see a potential game where those two end up squaring off in the Peach Belt Conference Tournament Championship. And that they lost by 4 when they played them in Columbus State, and they still got to come here, I believe, February the 11th. So that's going to be an interesting game. I can't wait for that, and I know that game is certainly probably circled on all of their calendars. So, yeah, hopefully this goes well, and we can go ahead and get, this thing started so I can get this out. I know this is not what I envision, but we just got to move forward, got to get something out. I've had times where I just completely scrap something just by being frustrated, and I don't want to do that here. I'm going to try to, defeat one of my demons here and actually put at least something out with the you know, reassurance that it'll get better. Episode 2, 3, 4. And it was 10th. I hope that 10th episode being the best one. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I don't expect this episode to do great numbers, but I just want to get something out there, that can be somewhat of a idea of what that game had to offer. So, yeah. Always remember, don't underestimate, appreciate, go Sharks. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode, and without further ado, go.